Oh, hi there, everyone. It's Dave Barnett once again from davidcbarnett.com. I've got another question here from a viewer about buying a business. And it's from Bruce, and he asks, what common pitfalls should I be aware of when buying a business? And that's just one of the questions. I've actually received literally dozens of questions that are all along the same vein. Like, what's the one thing to look for when I'm buying a business? What's the common mistake that people make when buying a business? And I sat down one day because I knew this was a common theme, and I started to write out a list. And quite frankly, the list got very long because the common pitfalls and mistakes that I see buyers do when they're evaluating, looking at, or buying a business, there's a lot of them. And they're all simply mistakes because people just don't know what they're doing. They haven't bought a business before. And by the time I was done writing out this list to try to answer it in a video like I do every week, there were over 20 items. And so I knew that I couldn't really address it in a one-off video. I'm going to give you a couple of the items here today. But basically, the questions like these are why I wrote my special report, 21 Stupid Things People Do When Trying to Buy a Business. And it's available from my website, davidcbarnett.com, as well as from Amazon in Kindle format. And it's only $4. So if you're going to buy a business, do yourself a favor, buy this report before you even decide to invest in anything else that I do. And I'm sure that if you read the report and you're serious about buying a business, you're going to realize that there's a lot more you need to know to do it properly, and you'll probably want to look at some of my other programs. But just to give you a quick list, some of the most common mistakes that I've seen buyers make when buying a business. Things like failing to understand how businesses are valued. That's a big one. Failing to account for the value of their own labor. I see that all the time. Failing to adjust for operating capital. I see people all the time overpay for a business because they value the business properly, but then the actual assets transferred don't reflect all of the assets required to create what we call an enterprise value, which is what the valuation is often based on. Overcommitting cash flow to debt service is a big one. Underestimating the value of their own capital. What kind of return do you need on your own money from this investment on top of the wage you need to earn for doing the work? Failing to get the proper help, failing to get help, period, asking the wrong people for help, failing to make a reasonable projection, failing to consider capital expenditures, failing to do proper due diligence, and that actually spreads for about 3 pages in the special report, all the different subsections of due diligence that I always recommend people do. Failing to create mechanisms to hold the sellers accountable to what they say. That's a big one I've talked about before on this channel as well. Failing to properly do research on franchisors. I give a great example in the report of a franchisor that I recently looked at with a client and found some huge landmines that could potentially put the buyer's investment at risk, not because of the local business or anything to do with the local franchise, but because there were serious problems with the franchisor that could basically make them insolvent at any moment. And what then would happen with the franchisee? And the answer to that question is kind of scary, actually. And so failing to understand the risks if a franchisor fails is on the list. Failing to understand the importance and power of a landlord. Failing to budget properly. Failing to have a reserve for cash. And then there are a few more, as well as some bonus ones in the report. So, I mean, that just gives you a snapshot of the everyday problems that I've seen back in my career as a business broker and today just when I work with consulting clients, helping them to buy and sell businesses. And it's always a lot of the same thing over and over. And what I find is really frustrating is people will get a little bit of knowledge and then move forward with a lot of bravado thinking that they now know this thing. And the reality is that it can take years to properly know how to navigate your way through the process of looking at businesses and actually executing a transaction. And that's why I always recommend that you work with someone, either a qualified broker or a consultant such as myself, if you want truly unbiased advice that doesn't have an interest in seeing you actually execute the transaction. And that's one of the things that I do that a lot of business brokers won't, is I'll actually tell clients, hey, you should not buy this business. Here are the problems. You shouldn't do it. whereas a business broker, of course, only gets paid if you actually buy the business. If you want to learn the full 3-step process of how I help people buy businesses, and it starts with education, then you should visit businessbuyeradvantage.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. If you found this video useful, please like it and share it. It helps move the video up in the YouTube and Google search ranks so that other people like yourself that are looking for this kind of information can find it more easily. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
You made it to the end of the video. That's great. Why not come over to my blog site, investlocalbook.com, where you can see all of my latest posts and videos. You can also take the time to watch my welcome video, see what I'm all about, and if you wish, sign up for my email list. I only send out one email each week. You get to choose which topics you're interested in so that you only get information that you want to learn about, and it's easy to unsubscribe anytime. Click my free resources link and have access to all of my free ebooks, audiobooks, and other PDF downloads. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.